Hello, and welcome to CIO Live here in ASEAN. My name is Chris Holmes, Editor-at-Large, and I will be your host today. I'm pleased to welcome Fred Gomez, Director of Technology Services at Gemological Institute of America, as part of our Leadership Live series, where we talk to tech leaders across the region. Before we get started on the discussion on your approach to the future of the technology organization and the importance of enterprise architecture, Fred, maybe you can just share your background and how you became a tech leader.
Absolutely. Hi, Chris, and it's a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to be, speaking with folks like you. My background actually goes back 25 years, and what comes to mind when I think, when you posed the question to me was how my journey has been formulated through constant change. I think being in the IT industry, at least in the last 20, 25 years, what's been constant is change, right? So continuously going through change. And the second thing that strikes me a lot is the focus that one has to be on customer, right? Putting customer front and center. I think those are the two things: the constant change in the industry and the fact that you put the interests of the customer front and center. Maybe it was just happenstance or just my propensity to be a change maker, coupled with maintaining a customer first approach, which invigorated me or propelled me through this. You get into a tunnel and what keeps you going, right? That's what I'm talking about. When I look back, whether it's my tenure at IBM Singapore initially when I started my journey in IT, or whether it's in the 15 years of aerospace industry experience, I think it's the thing that comes through clearly is the data points I mentioned. One is the constant change. I know when I joined IBM, it was, they were shifting from one type of, delivery to a different kind of delivery. Web was taking over. There's this move to move everything to be web enabled. And then when I joined the aerospace industry, it was the move from a very mainframe centric infrastructure to a three-tier SAN application enterprise architecture model, right? So that I think transformation in the industry, and just me being lucky enough to ride those waves in those different industries. And then following that, when I was with Bridgestone, I was also part of setting up the enterprise architecture practice. So that was again a transformation when enterprise architecture has been around for a long time, but the adoption of enterprise architecture into some industries, at a different pace. So when I hit Bridgestone, they were bringing EA into their practice, and it was a good time for me to help transition the organization itself. So I think all in all, the common theme, if you see here, is the constant change in the industry and the transformation, and also at every step of the journey, making sure that you're keeping the customer front and center. I think those are the two things that pivoted me to be where I am today. And
that's great. So very interesting, as you said, you've gone from sort of tech provider through to aerospace, through to tires, effectively, and now you're with the Gemological Institute of America. Maybe you could just give a little bit of an introduction as to what the organization actually does.
Absolutely. It's an exciting place to be. So I joined Gemological Institute in California in 2017. I'm currently the director for technology services at GIA. I lead a team out of the Singapore office. The Gemological Institute is it's a not-for-profit institute based in Carlsbad, California. We're dedicated to education, research, laboratory services, and instrument development. It's a very old company. It's like my boss keeps telling me, it's a 90-year-old startup established in 1931. GIA is the world's foremost authority on diamonds, colored stones, pearls. Our mission is to build trust in the customer in the gem and jewelry industry. That's our mission. and also now lately, doing it in a sustainable fashion. So that's the background of the organization I work for. I lead a team of about 5 individuals out of the Singapore operations center. We are responsible for providing infrastructure support and application support for the rest of the world's sites outside of US and India. So we have labs in Hong Kong, Japan, Bangkok. We have labs in South Africa, Botswana, Israel, and now we're setting up a lab in Dubai. And then we also have schools in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and London, which we support. So that's the breadth of services that my group offers.
That's great. Thanks for that, Fred. So, I mean, let's get into this conversation about that future view of the technology organization. I mean, you said in your intro you've been through, a lot of changes, both sort of technological, but also from a business perspective, different industries. So, maybe in the bigger picture, how do you see the future technology organization?
Every organization. So in my last 25 years, I've been through multiple industries, multiple organizations. I think every organization at any given point of time is in a different state of technology maturity, and future-proofing any of these organizations. Right? Any organization starts with a current assessment of where you are on that continuum. Assess your current state, keeping up to date, because you once you assess your current state, the next step is then what is the current state of technology out there? That there's a gap, right? And then you start, looking at how you close that gap. Now, key priority that you need to keep in mind when devising ways to close that gap, of course, is business priorities, right? And then posturing in that whole journey, that process, ensuring that you are cultivating a mindset of continuous improvement, of innovation. There are some ingredients that help drive these transformations in a sustainable way, and there are frameworks out there that you can leverage to assess your current state of whatever, whether it's digital transformation or technology transformation. But you should develop your own playbook, because your playbook depends on internal and external factors. Internal being the maturity of your organization, the technology that you have acquired over the years, and the business priorities that are in front of you. I think that all needs to come together. One thing that we should explore is why or how enterprise architecture can help and provide guardrails and frameworks for that. We should talk about that later.
So again, I mean, you talked there a lot about that sort of connection with the business, and it's something we see more and more. I mean, how the technology organization and the business organization actually integrate. And again, when you start to talk about the roadmaps people are creating, there's sort of the business priorities pulling the technology through. But increasingly, there's also an education to the business as to what the technology is actually capable of. So, I mean, with that in mind, how do you actually manage that engagement with the business? How does the organization actually look at bringing new technologies in, prioritize use cases?
Absolutely. Great question, Chris. Understanding business goals and business priorities, I think, are paramount, right? You do that while now keep making sure that, and I have to say this, and underline this also. IT has a responsibility, not just ensuring that we're in business alignment, but also making sure that the business is keeping the customer front and center, right? The business will keep but we can't take it for granted, right? Oftentimes, the business turns to us and say they need something, right? But it's our job to go that extra mile and say, okay, are we keeping the customer front and center in this activity? I think that's key. Identifying pain points where technology can help address, whether it is an externally delivered service, adding to a product delivery, or even internal efficiencies that technology can bring to the business, right? These are ways that you can foster the integration between the business and IT. Alignment of technology initiatives. Once you have your technology portfolio built out, right, making sure that they're aligned with strategic business goals. I think every organization has strategic business goals if they're at a certain level, if they're past a certain level of maturity. So these are key things to ensure that investments in IT generates the expected returns on investment.
That's great. And from a practical side, I mean, what does that actually look like? I mean, is there sort of like monthly steering group meetings? I mean, how do you actually, as I say, ensure that alignment?
So monthly steering group meetings with stakeholders, prioritization of key initiatives, and then in this time and age, agility is significantly important. So being able to, so two things. One is you need agility in the organization, and it needs to be driven from an IT standpoint. The business is agile, right? The business is constantly, sidestepping, moving forward to address external threats and take on opportunities. IT needs to be nimble and agile, so we can support the business in these, at the pace that the business requires. The other thing we want to also make sure is that IT has a good backbench of change makers. You need to put change makers in charge of all IT initiatives. These guys have to be able to break down barriers and move the mountains when it comes to making things happen. You cannot have long-term 8-12 month projects that it has to be agile delivery. It has to be connected with the business at every step of the way. The question has to be asked, are we putting the customer front and center?
So, I mean, you talked about being nimble and agile, and I know that has different time frames in different industries. I mean, what does that mean for you?
So, if you look at all, IT portfolios, you have these multiple buckets of activities or initiatives. You can categorize the activities or initiatives into streams, if you will. You could have a fast stream where you say these projects or these activities, these are 3-month projects, so these are 2-month projects. You should get delivery done, the product out the door, whatever it is, right? The actual end product out the door in a certain set period of time. Now, granted that these need to qualify with certain criteria, the funding needs to be available, resources need to be available, the goals of the project, of the product delivery needs to be achievable, right? So you can bucketize those initiatives into one bucket. Then you have the second group of items, which probably takes a little longer, requires a little bit more planning, maybe global initiatives or far-reaching compliance related items that would require a little bit more, a little bit of waterfall baked into it. And then you have the third category, which is the long items, which do we need to do this? Is it done for survival, or is it something that we can park and take on later as we address the near term? So I would say categorization is important, prioritization is important, and then keeping the stakeholders in the know on how these are being juggled, right? And at all times being able to be nimble and flexible in changing gears as we posture ourselves to support the business.
That's great. Thanks for that, Fred. So let's get on to that role of the enterprise architect. I know it's a subject dear to your heart. I mean, how important do you see the role of the enterprise architect?
I think EA, I don't see. So I moved, when I moved from stateside to Singapore a couple of years ago, one thing I found lacking, or maybe as a gap in organizations and in individuals I met with in the industry within Singapore, is the lack of of importance to enterprise architecture in an organization around here, in this region. I think it's partly because, and I'm not, this is just my opinion. Maybe it's because a lot of the technology direction is driven outside of this region, and we're just following, right? If you're a local organization and you're starting up and you're headquartered in Singapore, then you need to have your own EA. But EA is also a practice. It's not just a function. So whether it is EA driven by headquarters, which is based outside this region, and you're just the doer, you still need EA or enterprise architecture baked into your practice. It plays a crucial role in digital transformation, starting with aligning IT initiatives to the business, providing a holistic view. Could it be, setting up standards, developing of roadmaps? These are all key ingredients in making sure that you're future-proofing all your investments in IT. If you take, there's so many frameworks within enterprise architecture which you can leverage. TOGAF is one such a very common framework which a lot of the organizations use. And if you look at the TOGAF framework itself, there's the business pillar, there is the technology pillar, there's the application pillar, the data pillar. It's well balanced. And if you fit you don't have to take the framework and use it as is. I would say take the framework and then tailor it to the size and the model that works for you, and then introduce that practice within your organization to achieve a much more streamlined, future-proofed organization. It will help drive a mindset. As I said, EA is a practice. It's not a function. So do not stand up EA as a department and say, okay, guys, do your work. No, you have to infuse the EA practice. You have to have regular, design reviews with the enterprise architecture group, or set up an EARB, or enterprise architecture review board, where all new initiatives or anything that changes standards or sets different roadmaps. Key ingredients or input into this process, Chris, is one is you need to know the current state of the organization. Two, you need to know the product roadmaps from the vendors that the OEM vendors that's the fundamentals of your technology stack. Number three is the business priorities and business goals. And number four is your own capacity and capability, right? All these feed into that EA practice and that output that you will deliver, which is then, so that's your planning piece. That should be part of your planning of any IT initiative. And once you have those ingredients baked in, then that subsequent execution, bring in your change maker, give it to him or her, and they will drive the change, and it'll be more successful, and you'll end up being a more resilient, future-proof, less technology debt organization.
So I very interesting there, because again, you're that person, that individual, that group of individuals need to have a lot of cross-functional skills there. I mean, there's the liaison with the vendors to understand those product roadmaps. There's that ability to actually understand the business and actually know where the business is going, and then sort of marrying those two together to actually ensure that as I say, the technology vendors' plans are actually matching the business plans. So, I mean, what makes a good enterprise architect then? I mean, from an individual perspective, I mean, what are the skills this person needs to have?
Good question, Chris. I think, so first of all, before even going to that individual skill level, right, it is not a single individual. You have to have domains. You have to carve out the domains that are key in your technology and business domains, right? So say you have, as an example, you're organized by business functions. So you would have a procure to pay function. You could have a a finance function. You could have a sales or customer focused function. So each of these domains or pillars will have their an individual or a responsible group that are subject matter experts in those domains, right? You need those kind of individuals to form this group of enterprise architecture practice personnel. In terms of what makes a good enterprise architect, I think it's a combination of skills and experience. Technical proficiency is a good one to have in multiple domains of within the IT structure itself, multiple domains, right? So somebody who has been through a developer, a systems guy, and a solutions architect, and an enterprise architect. So all those are different phases of progression in the IT industry. So somebody has gone through all those, right? And then also having the width of knowledge in different domains within the IT pillar, for instance, security or data or application stack, right? The jack of all, makes it at one point of time a jack of all, and then a specialization in one of the key domains. I think that's what makes a good enterprise architect. Definitely business aptitude, communication skills, the analytical skills, attention to detail. I found a lot of times I come across architects who just, that once they get to a certain point, they're just not willing to go down to the level of detail that's required. You cannot. In order to be a good enterprise architect, you have to be able and want to be able to go to the level of detail that once you used to go to, right? You should be able to read architecture diagrams and understand the data flows and group your thoughts, because you're gonna turn around and you should be able to communicate to a less technical audience the intricacies of the technology design, right? That's key. So communications is key. Last but not least, of course, is a whole bunch of other things. Like you need to be a risk taker. You need to be a change agent. You should have persuasion skills. And last but not least, as always, is the continuous learning characteristic. I think all this put together would make a good enterprise architect. That's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of skills there, and again, it's very interesting trying to actually find someone who has that those technology skills, that understanding of the technology, but also can actually understand the business and bridge those and
you'd be surprised, Chris. Yeah, it's hard, but you'd be. I'm sure if you look within your organization, every organization, they'll find these people, right? It's about finding the ones, and you don't have to come in with all these skill sets. You can come with some base. I mean, definitely the communications, the change agent. Some of these are key. The rest of it can be taught, right? The domain, to a certain extent, you should have some. I can't be a data domain architect unless I have some background, some knowledge of data, right? I can't be a finance architect unless I know some aspects of finance and how the process within finance works, right? So some basic key ingredients are there, and the rest of it can be grown, can be mentored. So not all that difficult.
And I have to ask, I mean, has anything changed with the advent of newer technologies? I mean, particularly this year, it's all around artificial intelligence, Gen AI, it's everywhere. I mean, has the role actually changed as a result of these new technologies coming to the forefront and becoming more available?
It is. It is. I think we are at another pivotal point. I think the past pivotal point was when the internet was, just took us all by storm, right? Now, I think with the advent of automation and AI and machine learning, and now very recently, like ChatGPT, what we are all experiencing, it's a huge opportunity, and it's another tidal wave for everyone in not only in the tech industry but also in the business to look at how we can leverage or reposition ourselves, recalibrate ourselves to take advantage of automation opportunities of, if you look at the tools that are in the market today, we're just hitting the market as we speak, and these are all coming out in droves. Content creation, legal, activity. There is, customer interactions, language translations. There's a whole. Suddenly, everything has got a leg up in capability with the tools that are being made available out there, like ChatGPT and the large language models and natural language processing. The neural, capabilities of machine learning. There's so much out there to do at such short time, and the winners are going to be the ones that embrace change and are willing to learn. And I know I have to call this out. I know there are certain segments of folks right now. If you take the 20 to 40-year-olds, right? I'm not being. I hope I'm not crossing into areas that I'm not. Take some people off. But there's this group of younger minds that are willing to accept change and wanting change, and I'm finding it a lot in places like Singapore, Vietnam, in Bangalore, in India, where there is this propensity and they're absorbing these and adopting these newer technologies at a faster pace. There's some countries you don't find these as being noisemakers. Now I'm now focused in the Asia Pac region, so I'm probably missing out some of the countries that are making headwinds in this space, probably the US and other countries in the West and Europe. But in this part of the region, I'm seeing a lot of activity, a lot of movement, and a lot of absorption of these technologies in the countries I mentioned. So yeah, the huge transformative opportunity in front of us right now, Chris, and it's good to be in this field at this time.
That's great, Fred, and that's a great point to finish on, because that's all we've got time for today. So thanks, Fred, for sharing your journey and your thoughts on the future of the technology organization. That concludes today's CIO ASEAN interview. My name is Chris Holmes, and I've been talking to Fred Gomez, Director of Technology Services at the Gemological Institute of America. If anyone's got any comments or questions, please reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Thank you very much, Chris. It was a pleasure being with you.